It's the Prodigy Maker Show with Chris Lewitt. Back with you guys. Sorry for the break we had. We had Christmas and then got some crazy family stuff going on. I got a little toddler running around, so we got a little behind on the show scheduling, but I'm glad to be back with you. I'll catch you guys up on the latest news for fans of the show, fans of my coaching and stuff like that. What have I been up to? Well, I've been writing a lot. I have not been doing the show, but I have been writing a lot. I have a new article in New York Tennis Magazine coming out. I have an article in Florida Tennis coming out, a short piece. And I have this really cool article. If you are a tennisplayer.net subscriber, I put together a really nice technical and anatomical analysis of Riley Opelka's serve, very detailed technical analysis and anatomical analysis of Riley Opelka's serve. That's coming out, should come out next few months in tennisplayer.net, which is an online magazine by John Yandel. If you like technique and you like biomechanics, I highly suggest you check that out. That magazine is awesome. So I've been writing. I also have the book projects. A lot of you know, or some of you may know, that we're working on the second version of Secrets of Spanish Tennis. So we're trying to get the second edition out this year for 2022. And I've got to do some more research in Spain. I have a lot of research to do because things have changed in Spain in the last 10 years or so since I wrote the first Secrets of Spanish Tennis book. And I have two new Spanish books that are drafts that I'm working on. One is called Spanish Tennis Tactics, and I'm hoping to get that out this year or next year, but it's a book about the tactics and strategies that they teach in Spain. I think it'll be really interesting. And as well, I have a book on Spanish tennis wisdom, which is kind of a little project I've been working on for a while now, and I think it's going to come out really nice. But it's a book of quotations from the legends of Spain for those of you aficionados of Spain who want to learn about the wisdom of Spain. So there's a lot of projects in my writing, but I've been neglecting my YouTube channel, so I apologize to all of you who like the channel and follow. And to those who like the podcast and like to listen to the show, my apologies. We do have 4 shows planned coming up, so there's a lot on the agenda, and I will try to get those done. If my little baby girl can take more naps, then I can get more shows done. So today, this was a show that I planned about a month ago, where I happened to watch the King Richard movie. I thought it was really excellent, and it's been getting great reviews. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but I do actually highly recommend it. It's a wonderful movie, very well acted and well edited and designed, and I really enjoyed the way the story was presented of the girls, and the acting, as a lot of commentators have noted, the acting by Will Smith was amazing. You know, the presentation, the portrayal of Richard Williams was incredible, and people say he may even win an Oscar for that role. So if you're a tennis fan and you're interested in junior tennis development, I think it's a very interesting movie to watch, and it's a very well-made movie. There are not, I wrote an article about this in New York Tennis Magazine. I mentioned there haven't been a lot of great tennis movies, so this is really good for the tennis world that this movie was produced. I don't know who the writer was, but he did a really good job putting together the script, and the acting was excellent. And the movie came together, very dramatic movie, very emotional and powerful film probably of one of the greatest sports stories in the history of all time. You know, that these girls from Compton could become world champions the way they did. It's really an amazing story that really deserves a movie. You know, not all movies deserve to be made, but this story definitely deserves to be told. I did question some of the accuracy of the story. I don't know all of the details of the story, but one discrepancy, for example, was that Richard Williams was a chronic smoker, and as some commentators have pointed out, the movie didn't portray that. And little things like that, you have to wonder, how accurate was the movie in portraying the family dynamics and things like that. But from my understanding, the story itself, like the timeline, is fairly accurate. I wanted to talk more about some of the lessons, then the takeaways for junior parents and coaches, and but sort of tie in junior development in the junior tennis world, because that's what struck me from the film, because I'm a junior development coach, and I'm also a parent, and I work with a lot of families kind of like this that are trying to take their kids on the pro tour, make their kids into champions, or just get their kids a D1 scholarship. So for me, that this film really struck home, as it tied into the junior development world and to the work that I do every day, and the relationships that I have with many parents and families and children. So for me, it was interesting in that regard. So the first thing that I wrote about in my article for New York Tennis was that the thing that jumped out at me the most was that there was a theme in the movie about how terrible the junior circuit is, and how really dangerous and toxic the junior tennis world, the tournament scene is for children. This is something that Richard repeatedly suggests in the film, and I think it's a very interesting idea that I've talked about a lot on this show, I've written about, and I wonder if you guys agree with me that the junior tournament scene is toxic, it is poisonous, it's dangerous for children, and it can harm a lot of children emotionally and psychologically. You get back to the idea of child welfare, and I don't think that especially USCA junior tournaments are a really safe place for a lot of young children, and they're not monitored well, they're not managed very well. The rule system is antiquated and doesn't promote the best of what could be for child welfare, especially in terms of the children's emotional development. Some of that is the parent behavior. So Richard in the movie talked a lot about the parents. He said the parents should be shot, was the quote from the book, from the movie. And I don't know if they should be shot, but there are a lot of bad actors on the junior circuit. I'm sure some of you would agree with me. And it's not just that, though. To me, the whole system is broken in terms of the rule system, the way parents are not allowed to interact with their children. I just spoke with another parent. This has happened to me so many times now. I spoke with a mom who was upset that she didn't want to bring her child to a tournament because she felt a disconnection, a disengagement with her child when he played, and that she couldn't comfort him or coach him or get involved. And I suggested to her that she go play either the UTR tournaments that allow parent involvement, or maybe Little Mo doesn't really. Little Mo sort of doesn't allow the only place where that it's allowed, at least in the U.S. right now, is UTR, as far as I'm aware. But there are tournaments that allow parents. We do it at our club. There are tournaments that allow parents to have a healthy interaction with their children during tournament match play. And I think overall, especially for young children, that's the healthiest thing for their psychology, for their emotional development. Parents know their child best, and they can support their child emotionally during tournaments and during match play. At the same time, there are some bad parent actors, so it's a difficult discussion, and you often get into debates about what's the best way to, what are the rules that should be in play. But to me, I agree with what Richard says, and Rick Macy also says the same thing, that the junior tournament scene is rampant with cheating. This again gets back to the way the tournaments are allowed to be run, the rule system. There's a lot of cheating. There's a lot of manipulation. Aside from the parents, the crazy ones, the crazy parents. You do have a lot of crazy parents, but there's also a lot of good parents. But just the way that the current rule system allows kids to call their own lines and make their own call their own keep track of their own score. It just shouldn't. I've always said shouldn't be that way. You should go to a tournament. There should be officials there keeping score, calling the lines, or however you want to do it. You want to do it electronically. You want to do it with human beings, and parents should be allowed to interact with their children, maybe on changeovers or on breaks or with timeout system or something like that, and that would completely transform the junior tennis scene, the junior tournament, the tournament scene. So when you bring your child to a tournament, it can be a healthy experience. I'm a dad with 4 kids, and I have a son with anxiety. I would definitely not bring my son to a junior tournament because it would jack up his anxiety. It wouldn't be a comfortable thing for him, and it wouldn't be he played some junior tournaments, wasn't very enjoyable for him. But I really appreciate the position of parents who worry about their child's mental health. They worry about their child's anxieties or their experiences, whether those experiences are healthy or not at tournaments. And many times they are traumatic experiences for kids. And I know that I'm all for toughness. Look, I'm a very tough coach. I think I'm a disciplined parent. Discipline my kids. I have all my family in the military. Most of my family was in the military going back for generations. I'm all for toughness. I'm a boxer. I'm an MMA fighter, recreationally. I'm all for tough. People who know me know I'm a tough person, but I still think that you have young children, and we can make the tennis tournament experience healthier for them, and you can still have a sport that develops toughness and discipline and all the important life lessons, but in a more healthy way. So I think Richard from the movie got that one right. Rick Macci is right, absolutely right about that. I don't want the whole show to be about the toxicity of the junior circuit, but let me know if you guys agree with me or not. And I will just keep bringing up the issue from time to time in my writing or in my podcast or whenever I have the platform to do it. And I would like to see more changes in the rule system of junior tennis. I would like to see healthier environment for children. I would like to see children's their safety and welfare being more front and center in terms of the design and management of junior tournaments. So I'll just keep trying to promote that issue. I would like to see the end of cheating and the manipulation that you see in on the tournaments. I would like to see the end of that. That would be a nice thing. Why do we have to have cheating every tournament? It's a nightmare. Why do families have to go through that? Why do kids have to deal with that? They shouldn't have to deal with that bullshit. Anyway, back to the movie. Have you guys seen this movie? Did you like it? I thought it was great. Great film. What do you think about a coach? I'm talking about Rick Macci. I have a lot of respect for Rick Macci. I think he's a very talented coach, by the way. I say that at the outset. But what do you think about a coach who pays for his players, who pays to have students come and train with him? That's basically what Rick Macci did. I mean, the story's incredible. He gave Richard, for example, he gave Richard Williams a salaried job, $50,000 or so per year. And he didn't have to work. Richard didn't work for that money. He just got paid. It's a sinecure. It's a great SAT word, a sinecure, which is a job where you don't have to work, but you get remunerated. Plus, I've also read Rick's book many times. It's one of my favorite books called Macci Magic. Highly recommend that book, by the way, guys. The book is even better than... that book is is fantastic for parents and coaches and players, but especially for parents. But what do you think about a guy like Rick Macci paying for Richard his car, personal vehicles, like bought him a recreational vehicle, very expensive RV, and a car to drive around, and paid for his housing, paid for all of the meals for the whole family to move from California to Florida. Like, is this the way it has to be to develop a champion, to be a legend, to become a legendary coach? I see it as a coach, from a coaching perspective. I work with lots of talented juniors. I would love to have someone break through like the Williams sisters did. That would be great for my reputation, great for me as a coach. I would love that. But do I have to pay the way Rick Macci paid to have a top player like that? Is that what needs to happen? I mean, the level of financial output that he gave to the Williams family is really outrageous. Free training, paid for all their meals, their housing, personal vehicles, other things, equipment. It's staggering. And another discrepancy in the movie was the movie did not talk about the breakup between Rick and Richard. And from all accounts, it was a really bad breakup. In Macy Magic, Rick talks about what happened. He basically says that Richard left. He got a big contract from Reebok, right, for millions of dollars, and Richard basically left Rick, got a house with tennis court, and took some of Rick's coaches, right, and basically refused to pay Rick, refused to honor Rick's contract with Richard, and tried to renegotiate for less money. I mean, what a nasty situation that must have been. And and Rick says that he was so upset at the time that he prepared a $14 million lawsuit against Richard, But now when you see like the interviews with Rick's getting a lot of press, and he says they were best friends. So I mean, you try to square that. It doesn't really make sense. But you don't usually prepare a $14 million lawsuit with your best friend, against your best friend, as far as I know. I've never sued anyone. Maybe come close a few times, but I don't think that's not a good situation when that happens. And I'm glad in the end Rick got his. It sounds like he did get a settlement. So he got some remuneration for all the time and the money that he put into that relationship and into that deal. And in the end of the day, Rick got a lot of fame, and he's one of the most famous coaches in the world. And he can charge $800. Used to be $300, $350, and now $800 per hour, or whatever it is now. So he's making money now on the back end. But I mean, what a terrible situation to put that much money and investment into the girls, and then to have that breakup at the end. It didn't end well then, but I guess now, decades later, Rick's made peace with that. He's a very positive guy, and he tries to see things in a positive way. That's part of his philosophy. So I hope he feels that it turned out like it was worth it in the end. And I still have these lingering questions though. Like, as a coach, like, do you have to make that kind of sacrifice, especially financial sacrifice, to develop that kind of famous player, that kind of world champion? I know that there are coaches who refuse to have sort of a line that they won't cross. They would never pay for their players like that. And I don't know, how do you guys feel about that? I have mixed feelings about it. I wonder, as a coach, is that something is that some if I have a players who I think is really talented, should I consider going that far to get those recruits? For me, I think I mean, I could tell you some personal stories. I don't want to get into the details, but I would say even in my experience now, I haven't been willing to do that. I don't have that kind of money to support a family that way. So maybe I'm not wealthy enough to even consider it, but what a risk that Rick took, a financial risk and maybe risk to his reputation too. But and with great risk comes great reward, and he was rewarded as now he's known as one of the greatest coaches in the world. So I appreciate all your comments, guys. Thank you. I know that the way that YouTube Live works is the comments are not saved for me. Like I enjoyed Facebook Live when the comments I could scroll through them. So here, if I missed your comment, if you had a question, can you repost it so I can try to catch it? The timing of the YouTube Live, the comments show to me very quickly and then they disappear. So I'm not sure there's a way for me to get them back without altering the broadcast. So if you have a quick question, shoot it back to me and I'll try to catch it as we go. But I appreciate the comments too, by the way. But that to me is like the biggest, like when I watch that movie, I'm like, wow, I can't believe how much money this guy, Rick Macci, I'm talking about Rick, like how much money he put into this and what a risk he took. I don't know where he got that money from. And I don't know if he's financially very wealthy at that. He was very wealthy at that time. He was a tennis coach. I don't know where he got that money from. What a risk that he took, and it worked. Like the gamble worked. That's why I say Rick is not only a great coach. I think he's a very talented coach. And I don't think the fact that he paid for those kids should discredit him as a coach. Like he still had to have the goods as a coach. He still had to do the business, and get these girls to the next level. But man, what a risk that he took. What a gamble. What a great gambler. It just shows. I think it proves that some of the best coaches in the world who take those financial risks. There are stories of other top players who were developed that way. What a great gambler Rick Macci is, along with being an excellent coach. I know that you can develop a top player. Even Tommy Ho is a good example, because Rick in his book talks about how Tommy Ho, his parents paid Rick. So that was a relationship that was more normal, and Tommy Ho became, maybe it was a little bit of a disappointment. He was an amazing junior, and he didn't quite make it to the highest. People had great expectations for Tommy Ho, and according to Rick, he did pretty well. Got to about 80 in the world. Maybe I think Rick said 7 in doubles, according to his book. But Tommy was a bit of a disappointment. But apparently Tommy's parents paid. That's like a normal relationship. You have a talented kid. The parents have some means, and they value what you do as a coach, and they pay you for it at the time. That's a healthy coach-parent relationship. When students need a scholarship or that sometimes you have a kid who's maybe from maybe an underprivileged kid from a family that's not making a lot of money, and you try to help them. And I've helped out a lot of kids that way, and those are like your scholarship kids that you try to help those kids along. They have ability. Even if they can't go pro, maybe you can get that kid in a college scholarship, and that's worth a lot to those types of families. So I've helped a lot of kids that way over the years. I'm proud to say that. So I'm not. I don't. Some coaches are more mercenary. Like they won't do anything without getting paid. So I've never had that philosophy as a coach. But anyway, the idea of actually, but going farther and paying for students, or paying for it, just doesn't feel right to me as a coach, and it sort of bothers me. Like it feels almost disrespectful that you're asking me to you're not willing to pay me for my services. If you think I'm really good, then you got to figure out a way to pay me. And in the end, it sounded like Richard didn't want to pay Rick. After all the great stuff that Rick did, they had that big breakup, and Richard didn't want, kept trying to renegotiate, and it felt kind of like a scam. At least that's the impression that I take from it. And Rick jokes that he should have been paid more to spend that many years with Richard, because Richard was a difficult parent, very stubborn and opinionated, and sort of a little bit eccentric, and I don't know, guys. I think that you definitely see a couple different pathways to develop a top pro. You have, from a coaching perspective, you have normal relationships where the parents have means, and they know their kid's talented, but they value what you do. They respect you, and they're going to pay you for your time. Those are nice relationships, good, healthy relationships. Then you have some situations where the kid is very talented. You have parents may not have the means, or they may need some kind of deal where you help them, and that's okay too. And those can be really healthy relationships too. But this relationship, like this idea of like a parent says, we're not gonna pay you. We need you to work for free, or we need you to pay us. I don't think I'll ever go there as a coach. I've had a couple. I can't say that I have had a parent ask me to pay them to coach their kids, but I've definitely had some over the years, some really talented kids, and their parents wanted me to kind of work for free, or to donate a lot of my time. I didn't really feel comfortable with that. I felt like there should be some form of compensation for the work that I'm doing, bringing what I'm bringing to the table. I've never had a parent ask me to pay them for their child to train with me. So that, to me, Rick was willing to do that. If you're a coach, I know that a lot of coaches like this channel and they like this podcast. Like, what do you think about that? If a parent comes to you and says, my kids are going to be the greatest, they're going to make your career, but I'm not going to pay you. Man, that's a tough decision to make. For me, I don't think I could go that way. Personally, just professionally, I guess. So I have another, as a parent, I watched this film, and for you parents out there listening, I'll just shift gears a little bit. What do you think about making your kids into a business venture? Because that's essentially what Richard Williams did. Is he took his children and he basically he became an entrepreneur. As an entrepreneur, he started a small business based around his children. So thanks for the comment. Hex Tennis says, only gamble what you can afford to lose. So maybe Rick knew what he was doing here. But yeah, I guess I'm not willing to gamble my family. I have a lot of kids here that I'm supporting. I have a house payment. I've got bills. I don't know if I'm in a position. Maybe if I had a rich dad, if I had a rich inheritance, I had a huge bank account, maybe I could take that risk on a young player if the family asked me. So maybe if I was in a different financial situation, I had to work for everything in my life. I never got a handout. I never got a trust fund from my parents. So everything I have is I've earned through hard work. I'm proud of that. But some people may be in a position to take a gamble like that. It's a good point. As a parent, how do you feel about looking at your children and saying, for the next 10 or 15 years, I'm gonna build a business around my children. So I'm gonna spend time with my kids, and I may or may not work. Like, I may not hold a real job. Apparently, Richard had a security. He had some different jobs. He was a security guard, so he kind of did double duty. He was trying to train the girls and also work. But I mean, some parents in these situations, they don't work. Their job is bringing up the kids, or the player, or the players. In this case, it was sisters, and it's like the payoff is delayed. The payoff could be 8, 10, 12 years down the road. very much, it reminds me very much of an entrepreneurial venture as like a small business person starting up a restaurant, starting up a software concern, starting up, it's just basically a startup business. And how do you feel as parents? Do you think that's right? Do you think that's ethical? Do you think, would you ever do that as a parent? Would you ever look at your kid and say, I'm going to build a business around this kid, and the pay, I'm not going to get paid now because I'm going to basically provide all of this. I'm going to do all this work in a startup environment where I'm not going to be able to get paid, and the payment's going to be delayed, like kind of like taking an option. You're taking options on your, when you're it's like a software designer, like working for very little for a startup, and then you're going to get these options that are going to come into the money when the business goes public down the road, or the business starts bringing in big dollars, and then you're going to get paid later. So you're going to work now and pay later. How do you feel as a parent? Is that a scenario that you would even consider? Would you consider doing that with or to your kids? Like I think as a parent, I wouldn't make that decision. To me, it's a little risk. It's too much risk to take on. This is just familial risk, family risk. Because if that business doesn't work out, I mean, what happens to the family? The family's just going to get destroyed. It's going to be terrible for the children, for the family dynamic. It could destroy the family. For me, what I've chosen, and I am a parent and a coach, is I've chosen to grow a business. I'm not going to say a real business, because I think what Richard was doing was definitely real. He was running a family business, family business in the most true sense of the word. Like, it was a family business. Okay, so he was doing that startup, and I run a family business. I run a tennis academy. I'm a tennis coach, and I have a tennis club, and I make a living as a coach. And I love my job. I enjoy my job very much, and I try enjoy growing my career, becoming a more successful coach, and developing my skills as a coach, and that's my career. And I make a good living, and I'm able to support my family that way. And I have my kids. One of my son wants to be a competitive runner. My daughter does other sports like wrestling and cross country, and whatever my kids want to do, I'm going to try to make enough money to try to support them. Like, that's a more common role that you see. I'm going to say parents, but dads and moms, they decide to pursue their career, make a living, and then the funds that they bring in, they can support their kids. Let's say tennis in this case. If their kid wants to be a great tennis player, you could support your kids with those funds, and you could also pay for all your family stuff, all the needs that your family has. Though in this case, Richard, it sounds like he did work, but I know some parents who don't really work, and their excuse is that they're in this they're growing this family business, this family startup. And I think that's a fascinating family dynamic. It's a very dangerous venture, incredibly dangerous, more than me. Like, if my tennis business fails, probably would really be toxic to my family, but I could probably recover, and hopefully the family would still be intact. In this case, if the family business fails, the family itself is there's going to be like a nuclear bomb hitting the family, because these kids, their dreams will be shattered, and their whole identity is built around tennis. So it's like incredibly high risk. Again, I think we get back to that earlier comment. This is another example of like very high risk, and you get very high reward, but you also could have catastrophe. I think it's fascinating when a parent makes a decision. I have personal experience with some families who have made this decision. I have coached some players like this, and I've worked with some parents like this, and I just think it's really, really interesting that a parent would go that far. You have to ask yourself, like, what are the parents' motivations? Like, what would drive a parent to take that extreme position? They must really want their kid to be great, which you could say is fine, and you can take that as you wish. Is it healthy or not? Is that reasonable for a parent? I mean, we can debate the ethics of that, I suppose. But you know, what I wrote about in my article is that there are basically three options for parents. So if you're a parent watching, I would say you can kind of do like my pathway, what I described. You work hard, you build your career, you make money, you're successful, and then you can help your kids, and you could do that passively. Like you could not be that involved. There are great champions whose parents really weren't that involved. Just like Pete Sampras comes to mind. Like in Pete Sampras' autobiography, he said, yeah, his parents supported him, but they weren't they weren't all up in his face all the time. And then you have like Pete Sampras was an amazing player. Then you have like the Williams sisters, they were with their dad all the time. The dad was really running the show. He wasn't. I guess he was also trying to work. But I know some parents will say, obviously, the time that he spent with his girls was taken away from the time that he could earn money for his family. So it's a really tough balancing act if you're gonna take on the active parenting role where you're like really coaching your kids. That's going to take away from your ability to earn money for your family, and your family may struggle. Usually, the parent in those situations has their spouse bringing home the bacon, bringing home having some sort of steady job. Like in this case, I guess Oracene was a nurse, so she had I believe she was a nurse. She had a more steady income, right? And then Richard could do his thing. He could train the girls, and maybe he tried to work for a while. But if you decide to coach your kids personally and spend all that time with your kids, it is going to put your family at higher risk, because if the whole venture fails, it can be catastrophic for the family relationship. And you're taking it, obviously there's an opportunity cost you're going to spend all your time with your kids coaching them, but that's time that you can't actually earn money. So that's the calculation that you have to take. And then you have to get the kids good enough so that you can get those sponsorship dollars coming in as early as possible to try to get the money basically to cash in your option in this venture, in this startup. You're trying to monetize this startup as soon as you can, because you've been putting in all this time, and you need to get paid just for your family. So in this case, Richard was able to work out a deal where he got paid, and the kids hadn't even made it yet. They were maybe 11. 12. I mean, pretty incredible deal making by Richard. He was able to convince Rick to pay for everything, put him on salary, pay for all the food, expenses, housing, everything, training. So what a great deal maker Richard was, and he was able to negotiate this for his startup business, and it worked out. That situation worked out, but this situation often does not work out. The players, things can happen. The player can get injured. The player could lose motivation. There could be family issues. There can be sometimes a lot of discord between parent and the child. Like the relationships can be very rocky at times between child and the parent coach. So there's like a lot of pitfalls here. That there's a minefield that Richard was able to successfully navigate, which makes the story so incredible. But for all you parents out there, it's a cautionary tale. I mean, think about if you decide to coach your kids actively and like not work, it's an incredible amount of risk to your family and to your kids' future if it doesn't work out. And at the same time, I have let me just say the third role that I was thinking of is that you can be a parent, you can work, make money, and then play sort of a part-time role. Like I have many parents who have successful careers, but they also they're involved with their kids' development. They get on the court sometimes, they hit with their kid, they maybe go to tournaments and coach them, provide feedback and things like that. Like that's also a common role that you see parents play. So they have their own identities as in their careers, but they're being involved with their child's development, and that I see I think that's how I'm involved with my kids' athletic development. But I have my own identity, my own job. I make money. My whole life is not my kids' athletic development, and that's the most amazing thing about for parents who take this road. They basically make their child into their entrepreneurial venture. They don't really have a life outside of that. That is their life. And you can say that's why it worked. That's why that extreme dedication is maybe why some of these things sometimes they create a champion, but it can also end very badly. So you have to think about the downside too, the upside and downside. That imagine I can't personally imagine that my whole life is my son's running. Like everything I do is that I have no identity for myself. I have no career that I'm building. I have no passions that I'm pursuing for myself. That my entire life is my son's running or whatever my kids are doing. Maybe I'm not dedicated enough to that, or maybe I'm not selfless enough. But I have a lot of respect for parents, entrepreneurial parents who make that family business decision. I do have a lot of respect for them. They're taking on a tremendous amount of risk, so I worry for them. But I do have a lot of respect for them in terms of the commitment, the dedication. It's an incredible thing for a parent to say, the next 10 or 15 years, I'm going to be completely selfless, and I'm going to give everything I can to make my kid a champion. Like that is an amazing thing. Just quick comment here. Those comments that came quickly. I'm sorry I missed that one, but you were talking about. It looked like an interesting comment about capitalism and parenting and parenting decisions. But thank you for that. So, I don't want to judge harshly a parent's decision. I want to portray to you guys the risks and the benefits, and that these three pathways. Basically, you make money, you have an identity, you have a job, and you support your kid passively. You make money, you have an identity, but you spend a lot of time with your kids, and you get involved with their athletic training or whatever they want to do. It could be any other activity that they love. Like my daughter loves to dance and sing, and could be music, like playing the piano or something. Whatever your kids love, you get involved with their passions. Probably the passive one can be really bad. Like some parents make all their money, they're wrapped up in their own careers, they're wrapped up in their own identities, and they never spend any time with their kids. They just pay the bill. They say, hey, you coach them. You do deal with that. I don't want to deal with it. I'm not going to be that involved. Like that can be bad too. It's nice to be involved with your kids' passions, right? And then you have this third approach. It's incredible. When a parent says, "I'm not gonna work. My life is gonna be making my kid into a champion." Sometimes it works. It's incredibly risky for the kid and the family, but with great risk comes great reward. And parents, I think parents of junior, that's in this case, this is a tennis podcast, of any junior athlete, need to think about what role they want to play. Do they want to be passively, work and just be a passive supporter? Do they want to work and be an active supporter, or do they want to actually make their kid their work? Do they want to be that? Do they want to sacrifice that much, and to be that selfless? And make the rest, the next, however much time they got to put in, do they want to make a family business that way? Your family business could be like a restaurant, or like a bowling alley, or like a tennis academy, or whatever. You want to be like a barber, or you want to drive a taxi, or your family business could be your kids' tennis. And that decision is a big one, because there are implications down the road if it doesn't work out. Anyway, so a few takeaways from the movie, and then we've got a lot of other shows to produce for you guys. I'll wrap this one up. The message about junior tennis, the junior tennis tournament scene, just going to reiterate, got to make some changes in the junior tennis world. We have a low participation rate. I've talked about this many times. Very low participation rate in tournaments. We have a higher participation rate in like high school tennis and team tennis, and people like to play tennis, but a lot of kids do not like to go to tournaments. There's a reason why. They are toxic environments. Part of it is the parent behavior. Richard Williams says parents should be shot. He says it's worse than Compton. He says the junior tournaments it's worse than Compton. He says, I think he's dead on. He's on to something there. It's from the film, and we need to make important changes to the structure of junior tournaments and to especially the rules, so that there's no cheating. Cheating just ruins the experience for all involved, except the person, I guess, who gets away with it. And it's rampant in junior tennis. It's terrible. It's ruining the competitive side of the sport, and it's hurting participation rates. So that's one takeaway. Another takeaway is parents, think about your role as a parent. How do you want to be involved? Maybe you have a young child that you're developing who is an aspiring athlete. How do you want to be involved with your child? Do you want to and how do you, and do you want to work? You're going to work either way. You got to work, or you're not supporting your family at all. But do you want to work like a traditional way with a job, and then finance your child's pursuits, your child's passions? Or do you want to take this rare pathway of being 100% dedicated and committed to training your own child, and not really supporting, not really bringing in the money, but providing them coaching and mentoring and training yourself? So you're going to spend a lot of time with your kid, but you're not going to be out. You're going to be probably poor for a while unless you have somehow access to trust fund, which I don't have, or maybe your spouse can work and support the family while you grow this enterprise, this startup family business. So those, or are you going to work and be sort of semi-involved, like partially involved with you? That to me is I think a lot of parents like that. They have their own identity, and they do get involved with their child's activities and passions and pursuits. Maybe they get involved on the court or on the field, whatever the kid's doing. But they haven't given up their entire identity for the kid, which is I think the highest risk that a parent can take in this type of scenario, in this situation, in terms of this scenario. For coaches, think about it, guys and girls. Fewer girl coaches. We need more female coaches out there. What do you think? Are you willing to pay for a really talented student with the hope of some reward down the road? But knowing that many of these delayed compensation agreements do not work out well. In other words, the parents don't honor it. Are you willing to work with a young kid has a financial need, an underprivileged kid? Are you willing to work with some kids like that and help their families out with some sort of scholarship scenario? I think you probably should be willing to do that if you're a good person. I would suggest that to you as a coach, but I can't make you do that. Maybe you have to decide this. If you're a young coach coming up, you have to determine what is your how are you going to operate? What is your philosophy on that? Are you only going to, you say, I'm a professional, I've worked hard to develop these skills, I only come to the court if I get paid? I know coaches who believe that. I'm going to try not to judge them, but I worked hard to develop my skills. I'm a talented coach. I'm going to make your kid better, and if you want me to come to the tennis court, I need to get paid. Sorry, I need to get paid. Okay? So those are your options as a coach. You're going to pay for students, you're going to help students, or you need to get paid. I think those are the pathways there. And finally, for anyone who thinks that they can do what Richard did with the sisters, and this was my my final takeaway in the past article that I wrote. I would be very skeptical if you could anyone can duplicate what happened here. I mean, this is a very, very rare success story. It's very hard to make it in tennis, and so I just think there should be a parent, any parent who's thinking about taking this movie and sort of modeling their approach with their kids, the way Richard did it. I mean, I think Richard was clearly brilliant and very savvy, and he was able to pull this off. But this is a once in a century accomplishment, I would say, and I don't know if it can be duplicated, especially in our lifetime. We'll see. But I think that I know there are some parents who watch a movie like this and say, okay, we can do this. Like, this is possible. And I don't know that it is possible to duplicate what happened here. It's incredible. It's a miracle. It's a miracle, and it's great. It's a great story. It's great that this family from Compton, these girls made it, and the family brought success to the whole family, and now, and it's been great for the sport. But I think that parents need to be really careful if they're gonna say, we're gonna do this. Take our kids and make. I just think the way this happened, I don't know if it can ever happen again. So please be careful. Please be careful if you're gonna go all in. If you're gonna go all in and gamble this way, just understand what you're getting into and the risk you're putting your family, the risk that you're taking with your family if you make your family your business. But at the end of the day, some of the greatest players, it was a risky road to get to the top. I'm not afraid of risk, but please consider that this story is unique and really a miracle situation, and don't assume that this can happen again the way it did, just because it happened once. But anyway, I leave it with that. Just be judicious, be cautious, and put your family first. Do the right thing for your family. If you're a parent, think about that. All right, guys. I have a lot of projects going on. We'll wrap up the show. If you want to we have a workshop coming up February 21st. If you'd like to come to the club in Manchester, Vermont, we have a lot of people signed up. We're filming it. It's going into our digital school, so it's going to be an exciting event. It's a workshop, full-day workshop. Players and parents and coaches will be there. The players can train all day, and the coaches and parents can learn. It is comparing the styles and philosophies of the three legends, legendary coaches from Spain: Luis Bruguera, Pato Alvarez, who recently passed away, sadly, and Tony Nadal. So it's comparing these three systems and going over some of the drills, the famous drills that these three legends of Spain developed, and it'll be a really wonderful day of training and learning. So if you have the President's Day off, please come. Let me know. Come up and visit. And we're training all that week. So that entire week, I have players visiting the academy and training. So it should be an exciting training week. And I have players coming in every week right now. I have a lot of really. I enjoy having kids here in Vermont at the club because sometimes I spend the whole day privately or in a small group with these kids, and I get to know them really well, and we get to get a lot of work done. So if you have availability and you want to train during the school year, aside from the summer camp that's coming up, that is an amazing summer camp in the mountains of Vermont, high performance Spanish training. Aside from the summer, I do have players visiting pretty much year round now, weekly. You can come for a few days, and you can basically get a one-on-one with me, or a one-on-two, or one-on small group, and it's very intensive, and we get a lot of work done in just a few days' time or a week time. I think it's really beneficial. The kids who have come have really improved a lot because of the way it's designed, one-on-one or small group. So consider that. And I will see you guys on the next show. This was episode 59. So we have 58? I have a few more coming up. I'm going to try to get those out to you. We have a really good show on short sets. I think the next show is on short sets. Maybe you're curious, what is a short? All these tournaments now are short. Nobody plays 2 out of 3 sets, and we're going to talk about the length of tournament matches. Get back into the tournament junior scene. I'll probably talk about how the toxicity of the junior tournament scene as well. But I'll leave you with that. Short sets will be the next show, I believe. And guys, it was my pleasure. Please catch up with me. Send me an email. Leave me a comment. And I'll see you on the next program. Thank you.